Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you for tuning in again live. It is Monday, February 3rd. It is noon here on the East Coast of the U.S. And you are currently watching the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group hosted by me, Jason Leeser. And if this is working for you, please tag us in the comments and tag a friend who loves tattoos. And let me know I'm not just talking to dead air here. Always looking for people to give me some feedback. Let me know that they're listening in. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help, have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. You can try it out for free. There is no obligation to subscribe right away. We do offer 3 different options for you to try it out if you are interested so that you can get an idea of what it kind of looks like. The first option is to take a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon, where you get to go through and get a behind the scenes look at what it's like to have a full Reinventing the Tattoo Canon subscription. The second option is to go through and get some free advice from Guy Aitchison about goal setting, maybe your unique goals. And the third and final option is to take a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown. For fellow tattoo history nerds such as myself, I can't stress this enough. The tattoo history course is amazing. It's everything from start to finish, and it really goes into some of those nitty gritty aspects about how we got to where we are in this industry. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find a full event schedule with weekly and special event live stream details. So if you wanted to hop into today's show, you could very easily go through to www.reinventingthetattoo.com. Take a look at the events calendar in the event area, and you could find a link to join today's stream live. While there, you also have access to a whole host of professional development workshops and paid for on demand seminars from over 20 world class tattooers. A couple people that we have seminars from are people such as Andre Malcolm, BJ Betts, Bob Tyrell, and a whole lot more. Go through, take a look. Those are pay per view. So you will have to purchase those, but they are available for purchase at reinventingthetattoo.com. We also have 2 apps in both of the app stores. One of the in the Google Play Store and one in the Apple App Store. So go ahead, take a look at those. We also have a Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, a Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which has about 12 to 15 different episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And while you're at reinventingthetattoo.com, you also have access to the Reinventing 24/7 channel, which is available on all web-enabled devices and is freely accessible. And that has about 13 different episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can also find us in all of the major podcast directories, such as Apple and Spotify, or you can do what most people do and just open up your web browser and do a quick search for Reinventing the Tattoo, and you'll find it all. Except for the book, which is still currently out of print. If you do find a book for sale, it's probably on eBay, and it's probably going to be very expensive. Just a heads up, just letting you know in advance, because they can get pretty pricey. Once again, if this is working for you and you can hear me, please let us know in the chats, and please tag a friend who loves tattoos. We have a number of weekly staple shows we always encourage people to tune into. Starting off on Mondays at 9 a.m., we have Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, where we get to go through and discuss basic drawing techniques and strategies. Helps us get back to our roots of being a fine artist in the tattoo industry today. Really helps us out with some of those basic art skills. And that is 9 a.m. Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom. Following that show at noon on Mondays, we have the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group, which you are currently watching, with me, Jason Leeser, where we get to go through and work on some of our skill sets, Maybe work on some of our Procreate skills, or we talk about, yeah, different client skills and how to deal with clients, composition, anything that might come up that you might want to work on. I will be more than happy to discuss here live during the Skill Building Monday drawing group every Monday at noon. And capping off Mondays at 9 p.m., we have a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Sandy McAndrew and Guy Aitchison from the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. And that is only available for people that have a subscription to the Reinventing the Tattoo Monday night drawing group package. That does also come bundled with the full Canon subscription and the Reinventing the Tattoo Evolution subscription. So no matter what your budget is, there's always a way to go through and become a subscriber. I will tell you this, having done the Monday night drawing exercises for about 2 years steady, it is absolutely incredible. If you look at the work I was doing before I started doing it and the work that I'm doing now, there is a monumental increase in the caliber of work that I'm doing now composed to before I started it. So you'll definitely get your money's worth out of it if you stick with it. It's really challenging though. It's definitely going to push you to become a better artist. It's really going to push you to really make some concrete decisions and run with them and develop them. So it's very, very good and very exciting. Following that, on Wednesdays at noon, we have the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley, where we get to go through and do a deeper dive into the business aspect behind tattooing, whether it's client marketing strategies or client retention, maybe it's travel visas and, working abroad, anything that has to do with the business side of tattooing. Take a look at the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley, and that's at noon on Wednesdays. And it is very, very insightful when you get to talk to someone that has as much experience as he does. Would like to go through and take a second to thank some of our sponsors, some of the people that make these shows happen, starting off with WorldTattooEvents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. They are constantly keeping everything updated. As we know, living in a post-pandemic era, tattoo events and conventions are still getting rescheduled like crazy. So if you are looking for the latest, most up-to-date tattoo event or convention information coming to a city or town near you, or maybe it's one you plan on visiting, Lord knows that's how I plan all my vacations, take a look at worldtattooevents.com and you will not be disappointed. Would also like to thank tattoonow.com, technology for tattooers. The leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooer artists of all levels. They're 100% competitive with any type of CRM, mailing list, or scheduling software out there. So if you're really looking for the digital tools to help you reach more clients, to help you streamline your client booking process, and to help you really stay on top of things, take a look at tattoonow.com. They've been an industry leader in that field for over 20 years. Would also like to thank Guy Aitchison over at guyaitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. Go to guyaitchison.com where you can pick up a copy of his Biomech Encyclopedia, some of his tutorial DVDs, and countless fine art prints, as well as an occasional original oil painting, all for sale at guyaitchison.com. Would also like to say a very special thank you and shout out to Amy Nichols over at the Apprenticeship Diaries. My number one go-to whenever people come to me and ask me what a tattoo apprenticeship is like, I immediately point them here and say, hey, go take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries. It's a podcast, it's free, and there's tons of great information on there. Would also like to plug and say a very special thank you to tattoos.social, the number one place to find like-minded and welcoming community without all the drama and negativity you find on other social media tattoo communities. We combined a whole bunch of different tattoo networks together to create tattoos.social, combining Fireside Tattoo Network, Reinventing the Tattoo, Paradise Tattoo Gathering, and a whole lot more. Go take a look. That is tattoos.social. And let me pull up the QR code for that. There you go. All you have to do is scan the QR code on your screen right now. Unless you're watching it on your phone, in that case, it might be too small. But it is tattoos.social, and it is absolutely incredible. Highly recommend you check it out. It's a great place to go just to network and hang out with other tattoo artists, get some honest feedback, and, really get to know other people. As always, we ask that if you like today's show, please go through, post a positive review on the channel, help us get the word out. If you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, become a sponsor of our community, or if you are looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, you can always email management@reinventingthetattoo.com, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. And that kind of wraps up the intro for today. Thank you guys for bearing with me every week while I get through that. It's not the most exciting part of this, but it does work well. Let's bring this over here. Just make that a little bigger. There we go. And pull up this so seeing comments people make. Hey, Creatures Cave, how's it going? Sorry. Still waking up a little bit here. Sorry about that, folks. So, what are we discussing today? Staying motivated and momentum in your career. This is something I see a lot of different artists struggling with, especially now during the tattoo apocalypse, as some artists are calling it. Here's the deal about it, right? We all get momentum. We all get on these periods of time. It's just go, 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 go. And we are trying to accomplish as much as we can in a very short duration of time. And that has a lot to do with momentum. If you find yourself with enough momentum to go through and carry on to the next project, do not let anything stop you. Try to keep the momentum going as long as you possibly can. The reason behind that is because when momentum stops, it's always a lot more difficult to go through and pick it back up again than it is to just continue on with it. There are certain scientific principles that back this up. Look at the laws of physics, I believe. I forget who instituted those. But objects at rest will stay at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. Objects in motion will stay in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. Those are two of the laws of movement, and they are very critical, but I also apply those to human nature and life. So if you are in a process of creating, maybe you're working on a new painting, maybe you're working on, a new big project, maybe you're working on a new design or logo for a studio, or, you're right in the middle of, working on getting some new prints together. Stick with it and immediately continue on to the next project. Do not let that momentum pass, because it will be that much more difficult to pick it back up and get back into that same headspace and to get back into that same sense of momentum. Trust me when I say it will only do you favors in the long run. Staying motivated can be a little bit more difficult, even though I kind of equate that to momentum, but I look at being motivated more as the catalyst for the momentum as opposed to the actual momentum itself. Staying motivated can take on many different forms. Being artists, we always have a sense of imposter syndrome. I use that as a form of motivation. Not everyone does. I don't know why, but I look at it and say, okay, well, this is something I really need to work on. This is something I need to get better at. What can I do, and how can I work to improve what it is I need to work on? Whether that's, with my painting, working on contrast and composition or color theory, whether that's working in my tattoos. Maybe I need better lines. Maybe I see healed tattoos a year or two later and the lines don't look consistent or even or solid. Okay, well, I'm going to go back through and what can I do to make better lines? Well, I know that I can slow myself down. I can slow my machine down. I can slow my hand down. I can focus on quality over quantity, not trying to push through and get the most done or be the fastest artist out there. Speed in tattooing comes with time. That is something that was taught to me very early on when I was coming up in this industry. You will not be the world's fastest tattooer overnight. It will not happen. And if you try to push yourself to become a faster artist, the only thing it will do is make you sacrifice quality for speed. Do not make that sacrifice. That is the wrong way to go about doing it. Go through, take your time, do things right, do things immaculately, right? Until you can get them flawless the first time. Once you can get everything flawless the first time, then you can start to move on. But until every line in a piece is perfect, until your shading is perfectly smooth and saturated, until your colors are perfectly blended, do not think about trying to get faster. Just think about trying to be more consistent. Whether that means, going back through and, pushing off bigger projects. Whether that means focusing on doing smaller tattoos better as opposed to trying to get into bigger pieces. Maybe that means kicking back and instead of doing color and, maybe you need to work on your black and gray more. So maybe start doing more high contrast black and gray pieces, right? So there's always something that we can work on. Use that as a motivating factor. Do not look at social media for what other people are doing as motivation. Do not do that. The only thing that can come of that is that you're going to look at some of these people that literally spend decades perfecting what they do, that have gone through and done things the hard way, and then you're going to end up comparing yourself to them, and that is the wrong way to do it. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, and just try to be 1% better today than you were yesterday. That's all it takes. 1%. And if you do 1% every single day, you would be absolutely astounded at what kind of positive things can happen. And if you look at yourself a year from now, even if you're like, okay, well, instead of doing 1%, I'm going to try to be 10% better. All you need to do is be 1% better. Be 1% better every day with whatever it is you're doing. And look at what you've been doing over an entire year. And tell me that there is not improvement there. Rome was not built overnight, nor was it built by a single person. It takes a community of people to help you get to that point. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. Now, that being said, one thing I know I'm not the best at is what some people call being financially or fiscally responsible. Okay? I like to spend money. Who doesn't like to spend money? It's a great thing. If we have it, we like to spend it. But in this period of time where we're starting to see a major slowdown with the number of people that are getting tattooed or how much money they have to put towards their tattoos, it's not always the best idea to be fiscally or financially irresponsible. Okay? That can take on many forms. Maybe you can't do some of your favorite conventions or shows. Maybe you can't travel as much. Maybe you have to cut back on, all of the frivolous things that you might be buying. Little things can make a difference. So be aware of what you've got coming in and what you've got going. And if something's not in your budget, Well, it's not in your budget. But don't go through and dig yourself into a deep just because something is not in your budget and it's something that you want. That is not being responsible. We all need to be responsible, especially with the slowdown in the industry today. That being said, we're going to switch gears now and start working on some art. I'm going to be working on some more snakes because this is the year of the snake. Um, the reason why I brought up finances and being financially responsible is because I have a meeting with my accountant today. So I get to go there and get to go through all the great number stuff that I really hate doing. I don't like it. I just like drawing pretty pictures. That's all I want to do. Let me do that. And that is exactly why I have someone that helps me do all of the number stuff that I do not like doing. So here we are, back in Procreate. This way you guys can really see what I'm doing. Oh, I did get to finish up the that dragon that I was working on that someone did claim as a back piece, so I won't be working on that during the live streams anymore. However, I did make a painting out of it, and I will be selling prints of those. If anyone out there does want a print of them, you can go, well, I think it's going to be, what, right here? If you see my hand in the corner, just send me a DM on Philly Inc. I'll be taking pre-orders in the next couple of weeks. They're going to be on really nice paper. They're going to be archival and museum grade. I can even build a custom frame for them if you want me to. Might cost you a bit extra, but we can do that. But yeah, so those will be available at some point in time in the next couple of weeks. I still need to get it scanned and get some color correction done, but it should be available in the next few weeks. So I know I talked a lot over the last couple of days about, or the last couple of episodes, just about composition. And composition can make or break kind of everything. Um, I think I'm actually going to end up doing something a little bit different today. I've been playing around with a lot of different stuff and just looking at like body movements and flows. And sometimes you do need something a little bit more vertical to bring your eye up, as long as it's tied in some way to everything else. Now, this to me looks very boxy, for lack of a better term. What I found whenever I find that I'm drawing something a bit more boxy, what I have started to do more is actually shrinking the size of, whatever brush I'm using, working, zooming in on whatever, size I'm doing, and then going through, and now I've got a little bit more area to play with. So it helps me get out of the idea of being constrained by the proportions of everything else. Oh, we've got Lauren with us. What's up, Lauren? How you doing? Hope life's treating you well. Um, Lauren Gregory, one of the most influential people behind the scenes in the tattoo industry. You can quote me on that, and you know it's true, Lauren. Do not deny it. It's 100% accurate. Um, she's one of my favorite people in the world. She's an absolutely incredible human being, one of the nicest, most caring people you will ever meet in your life, and probably knows more about tattoos and tattooing and the industry than I think a lot of people really give her credit for. So, Lauren, you rock. Too wide. Let's go. Let's try something a little different. Just go with almost like a diagonal kind of layout here. Don't know that I like that too much, but That one could be fun. A little bit too negative, and I think it's a little too busy at the bottom end. Looks like two kind of clusters. Great concept, though. Mm, not bad. Mm, not feeling it. That one's not too bad. Let's try starting from the top. That one could be pretty cool, but once again, I've got a pretty straight line over here. So what am I going to do? I'm going to create a new layer, bring the opacity on that layer down, and do it again. Maybe smooth some things out and give it some extra, couple extra wiggles in there. Still not to my liking. A little bit better. Got rid of some of those straighter lines, but I think something is still a little off. Although if I rotate it, that could be nice. And we'll try it one more time, maybe. Nope. Uh, Sometimes muscle memory can be a curse. And that's ideally why I try to do this so many times, because it creates muscle memory so that when I go to really look at something, either I turn it into a painting or a tattoo design or something else, I already have the idea and the concept in my mind of exactly how I want this thing to flow and move. Something a little more centered. That's not bad. It's a bit more open than what I usually do. But I think for what I'm going to end up putting in the background, I think that'll work all right. I've decided to go with a chrysanthemum in the background. So having something a little bit more open in the middle could actually really work well. Yeah, that's workable. So what we will do is we will move this up and make sure that that's right dead center. And let's go through and we'll start sketching. Now that I've got some things mapped out, just bring that down a bit, almost like we're throwing a layer of tracing paper over top of it. Kind of mutes it down a little bit. So now there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can go through and draw the head of a snake. I always like to start out with an oval, knowing that snake heads are typically the same width as the rest of the body. I I always try to use the width of the body to determine how big I want that head to be. And then we'll bring our center line down here, and we'll just kind of have that curving over. Our center line is going to tell us the perspective at which this head is located. And it's going to tell us what direction it's pointing and what the tilt of the head is going to be. So for example, if I have this as the center line, you can see that this side over here, I'm not going to see quite as much of it because of the tilt and the rotation of the head. I'm going to see a lot more of this side. And if I go through and if I adjust that, if this is the center line, I'm now seeing a lot more of this side of the head, which means that the head is now at more of a downward angle. And I think I want this to have a bit more of a side profile view. Maybe a 3/4 profile view. That's my typical go-to. I find it to be the most interesting visual view to the human eye. Is something more 3/4 as opposed to straight profile. Or straight head-on. Both can be very static. Now, there's a number of different ways that you can start sketching the bottom jaw. Some people will do a curved line that comes down, and they'll just kind of continue this based on the tilt of the head, and they'll just continue that down. If they want to do an open jaw, some people will go through and they'll do an S curve, either starting in and then curving down, or coming from here and then curving down. I'm not a big fan of this one. Don't like it. I just think it gives it a weird, kind of a weird perspective. Some people just do a straight line and then, kind of curve it over, which works really well if you want to have a bit more of a, almost like a top-down view. Sometimes it's better to just have a straight line. Either way, what you want to do is you want to make sure this area here, I'll kind of zoom in for you. Let me switch colors, that way it's a bit more visible. You want to make sure that the perspective of the front of the snake head and the perspective of this bottom jaw are pretty much parallel. If these are not parallel, your snake will always look off. It's always going to look like something is weird or something is wrong. And you see that sometimes if people do a lot of like the S curve like this, you'll almost see them make the bottom jaw a little too wide, right? And now this isn't the same angle as there. So what you want to do to kind of avoid that is make sure that your bottom jaw is angled at the same parallel angle. Even if you want to draw a snake with a very large bottom jaw, really kind of make that protruding, like it's really coming under and out and forward, you can easily do that. Maybe you would want to do a very slight S-curve for that. Or maybe you want to do, so if I want to do a very large protruding lower jaw, I could very easily just kind of bring this straight back. The jaw would get a bit smaller at the front and then make it a little bit wider back here. That's going to be a little bit wider. This is going to be a little bit more narrow. And then we can kind of curve the bottom lip or edge of the bottom jaw up a little bit. And then that'll give us a really nice kind of visual break. You know, for the sides of the jaws, we'll just do a slight curve up and then bring that back down and around. What I always like to do is try to bring the bottom portion of the jaw and the body in together so that they kind of merge at the same angle. This way you have a nice smooth transition from the underbelly, which would be here in this area. You would see a little bit of that as the snake head curves around, right? And now it's as easy as going through putting in an eye. I always like to bring my eyes a little bit more forward than anatomically correct. I just think visually it makes it look cooler. Not everyone does. The actual eye of a snake is typically located back here, usually back about halfway back on the face. So if you're going for more of an anatomical look, like an anatomically correct placement, it would be there. Actually, I think it would be a little bit higher too. I think it would be about there. I don't care about that so much. I'm going for visual appeal. So I want to draw something kind of like that. Maybe bring some fangs down. Give it a couple extra little fangs. Maybe some side teeth. A lot of people neglect this side of the jaw. I never really understood that. A lot of people forget that if you're going to draw the jaw on something, it needs to be a complete form and a complete shape. So sometimes you'll see people that will leave out the entire other side of a jaw, and then they're like, oh, wait, there should be something here, but I forget what it is. Yeah, the other side of the jaw. Make sure that you draw that, please. So this would give us just a rough start to a snake head. And there's lots of different ways you can draw them. Every artist has their own like fingerprint for it. Some people like to draw like a little concave here by the front of the head, give it a little bit more of an angled look. That can get a little weird when you're actually doing your shading though, because it does create a little bit of a divot towards the front of the head. So if that divot was carried over, this little red sketching that I'm doing now would be the area of the divot. So you would have to remember about the shadow that's going to be there. This would be in shadow just based on the planes of a snake's face. Maybe you would have, if this side of the jaw was coming up and really coming up high, then maybe you'd see a little bit of that mimicked over here. Just try to make sure that everything is parallel, or at least somewhat parallel across the board when it comes down to what you're drawing and is it going to be visible. Everything down to the teeth, right? Make sure that the teeth have the same kind of parallel line. Whether that's seen or not, it's important to have them all on a parallel line. This way, everything makes sense and lines up correctly. Now, I like to draw snakes. I love drawing snakes. I have for a very long time. They can be kind of tricky for some people, and that's why I like to go over them frequently, just because there are so many different ways that you can draw them. Let's draw another one. Let's draw one. We'll start out with purple. This one's going to be at a little bit of a different angle. I'm going to bring my center line here and have that line up right with the base of the head. So this one's going to be at a much more extreme perspective. And I'll probably just do a little bit of like an opening for the tongue there. And then this is really going to be all that you see of this side of the snake's head, right? Is just this tiny little sliver over here. That's going to tell me that this is rolling in this direction a lot more than the last one that we drew. I'm going to start out with my eye, and I'm going to use that to just kind of mark a place. For this snake, I think I'm going to draw it with, yeah, we'll do another open mouth snake. So for this one, I'm going to draw a curved line down. Now I already know my perspective here is about there. Okay, so I'm going to want to make sure that the bottom jaw is about there. Once again, tapering down. We'll give it another little line here to represent the side of the mouth and the jaw. That would be where the mouth opens. Maybe we'll add like a little bit of a membrane here. I always like to do that. Just, snakes have that really wide membrane on the side of their mouth when they open their mouth. It's not just like a pivot hinge. It's, connected by some membranes. Let's go through. Then again, I don't really know too much about, anatomical correctness of snakes. I just kind of draw what I see. I've drawn so many snakes in my life that it's just muscle memory now. One thing I have started to kind of pick up on is I do tend to draw whatever's in the backside first. And then I can go through and I can cover that up with what's more in the foreground, what's coming towards you a bit more. That will probably have to be corrected as far as the angle goes. This, you'll only see one tooth because the other one would be hidden. This guy will make these teeth a little smaller. Maybe give it another one here. Check my angle. Yeah, this tooth is off. Actually, I think they're both off a little bit. So if I go through and I do one there, where's my angle? The next one would be about here. That's a lot more correct. I mean, I'd still have a little bit of tweaking to do to them, but it's going to be a lot more along the lines of what I'm looking for in the long run. This tooth is too big, but that's okay. We're not really nitpicking right now. Maybe I'll draw another guy here. Okay, and I always like to try to mark out where the curve of the head is on a snake. I find it to always be very helpful because if we want to think of this as a three-dimensional object, right? Think of it kind of as like a weird smushed cylinder shape. Cylinders are pretty flat on one side, right? And then it's almost like you're shading a sphere, so you can very easily just kind of bring this down, shade this down there, and then this part would be a bit lighter. So it kind of helps keep things in perspective for when you get ready to go through and start your shading and your value study. My jaw, Let's give this one a real angry jaw. So we'll really bring that guy up and back down, almost like a cobra jaw. Once again, making sure that the tops of these are parallel. And then bringing this back up into the body. And then from here, I always just do like some overlapping loops just to mark out where I want the scales to be for the jaw. If I do it right, and I usually sketch this all out in a different color, I can go through and accurately place the scales just by doing a quick little loop-de-loop drawing. Now, because the head does seem to be a bit bigger than the body, I would go through and shrink this down. And then adjust accordingly. As far as tongues go, I use a very different kind of methodology for doing the tongue. Well, I guess we can stick with this. It'll be fine. I always like to give it like a little bit of a S-curve cutback. I think it just gives it a little bit more personality. I'll bring it down and then back up and around. Sometimes I'll go in the other direction. And I'll bring it from up there out, and then I can bring it up if I want to. Either way, I like to give it like a nice little pivot point. Sometimes I'll even give it a secondary pivot if I really want to make it work in a different direction. But I always try to create a nice, like, very sharp angle. Just because I makes a more dynamic composition and it makes it more interesting to look at in the long run. And that's ideally what I want to go for. I want something that's not only going to be representational of what it is I'm trying to draw, I also want something that's going to be interesting for people to look at. And I want to be able to really move their eye around and create a sense of movement within whatever it is I'm trying to draw. And I think we'll wrap up here for today, guys. Like I said, I have that meeting with my accountant in a little bit. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. This has been episode 183 of Skill Building Monday, here with me, Jason Leeser, live on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. Hope you guys keep your hands busy, stay motivated, keep that momentum going. And I will catch everyone next week for episode 184, live here on Monday at noon. And I will see you guys then. Take care and cheers.